We all cheer great films, imagining ourselves as the protagonists. Unfortunately, there are instances where people took that silver screen inspiration too literally, suffering the worst possible outcome in real life. Back to the Future tells the story of high schooler Marty McFly, who accidentally transports himself back to 1955 in a time-traveling DeLorean. Early in the film, Marty hangs on to the back of a truck while riding his skateboard to get some extra speed on the way to school. Later, after he's been displaced in time and trapped in the past, the film unveils one of its most memorable sequences, featuring Marty attempting to escape the clutches of bruiser bully Biff Tannen. Referencing the earlier scene, he creates a makeshift skateboard that he then uses to skate away from his pursuers, which puzzles onlookers as such an item had yet to be invented. Once again, Marty speeds away by grabbing onto the back of a truck while riding the board. In June 1987, a group of teenagers were recreating the scene in Jenks, Oklahoma. They were holding onto the back of cars and go-karts when 13-year-old Mark Smith's skateboard hit the tire of one of the go-karts. Losing his balance, he fell and hit his head, sadly passing away 5 days later. The outlandish, dangerous, and disgusting antics of Johnny Knoxville and friends pushed the boundaries of absurdist behavior when MTV's Jackass was unleashed upon the masses in 2000. That success paved the way for a feature film version. Although it was accompanied with an R rating and a "do not try this at home" warning, attempts to Xerox the stunts of Knoxville and his crew did indeed happen, leading to predictably sad results. One fateful night in December 2002, 15-year-old Stephen Paul Rowan of Albuquerque, New Mexico was killed when he attempted to hold onto a moving truck but lost his grip and slipped when the driver slammed on the brakes. Rowan fell and was dragged underneath. Albuquerque police spokesperson Jeff Arbogast announced that the teens were inspired by a scene they saw while watching Jackass the movie. MTV sent their condolences, noting, "We're sorry to hear that this unfortunate incident has happened. No matter how a tragedy occurs, it's especially horrible when a young person is involved." However, they also claimed that there was no actual stunt in the film similar to what led to Rowan's passing. The Fast and Furious film franchise features some of the craziest car crashes and riskiest racing stunts ever devised. In 2003, Too Fast, Too Furious saw Paul Walker returning from the first installment as AWOL cop Brian O'Connor, who's made his way from California to Miami living off the winnings of drag races he's won while crossing the country. While the story sees him working to take down a drug lord, high-speed stunts remain the primary attraction. Shortly after Too Fast, Too Furious was released, 17-year-old William Lacoste Jr. was returning home from seeing the film when he pulled out of the Miami gas station in a Corvette. He was challenged to a drag race by two cars. He took his challengers up on the offer, but he quickly lost control, crashing into a concrete light pole and soon thereafter passing away. Lacoste's father later stated that had he been aware that Too Fast, Too Furious was the movie his son was going to see, he'd have never let him take the car. The film was blamed for a rise in racing and other accidents in Miami at the time, criticism similar to ones levied at the first film when it was released in 2001. At the time of Lacoste's passing, Miami Police Lieutenant Bill Schwartz stated that teenagers couldn't differentiate between the effects of drag racing they see on screen and the potential real-life consequences of racing, noting, "They don't understand that those people are stunt drivers and that they can get killed." Into the Wild is based on the real-life tale of college graduate Chris McCandless, who gives away all his money after deciding to travel to Alaska to live off the land. His experiences in the wild and the life lessons he learns along the way are the centerpiece of the film. Finding the enlightenment he was seeking, he seeks to return to his family, but he finds his former path now blocked. The quiet stream he once crossed has become an impassable raging river due to melting snow. In the end, he poisons himself by eating the wrong plant, sadly causing his own accidental death.
What if I were smiling and running into your arms?
In 2013, 18-year-old Jonathan Kroom, who had become obsessed with Into the Wild, decided to follow McCandless's example and leave his life behind. Kroom traveled to the Pacific Northwest from his home in Arizona despite having never lived off the land and having limited camping experience. When Kroom disappeared from the town of Riddle, Oregon, police began searching for him. His abandoned car was eventually found with his wallet inside. A week later, authorities discovered his body just 1,000 feet from the wooded area where his car had been recovered. While authorities believed Kroom killed himself, Kroom's family drew a correlation between his and McCandless's respective experiences. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 features Spidey's battles against Electro and the Green Goblin, while he also investigates the mystery behind his parents' passing. Andrew Garfield's brooding turn as Peter Parker was a departure from previous films, but Spidey in any form remains a colorful character that children respond to. Unfortunately, when young children don't realize the difference between movie magic and real life, tragedy can result. Just a week after the film was released in Indonesia, a 5-year-old boy in Jakarta named Valentino was told that his family wouldn't be able to go see it because his younger sibling was ill. He angrily locked himself in his room, opened the window, and apparently tried to crawl down the side of his apartment building. He sadly fell 19 stories, and despite the best efforts of doctors, he passed away. Authorities learned that he liked to imitate other superheroes he loved, such as Captain America and Iron Man, so it wasn't much of a stretch to assume that he was hoping to emulate Spider-Man. 2002's Blue Crush stars Kate Bosworth as Anne-Marie, a surfer struggling to overcome her own failures and the distractions of a fling with an NFL player, while also trying to win the surfing competition that has previously eluded her. Like every great sports film, Blue Crush has training scenes featuring our hero striving to push herself beyond her limits in pursuit of that moment of victory she is so desperate to achieve. One of those scenes showcases a unique endurance training exercise as Anne-Marie is running at the bottom of the ocean, carrying a heavy rock that weighs her down until she can take no more and is forced to return to the surface to catch her breath. While the technique is a legitimate one, it shouldn't be attempted without careful consideration and safeguards. Unfortunately, in September 2013, a group of children attempted to create their own version of the stunt. They swam across a pond in Port Salerno, Florida, while carrying different objects, including a baby carriage and a milk jug. The group found a heavy chain that a girl from the group wrapped around herself, but she removed it, feeling it was too much for her to handle. 13-year-old Anthony Michael Alfonson decided to instead wrap the heavy chain around himself, realizing all too late that the chain was too heavy and he slipped under the water. His friends attempted to help, as did nearby parents, but it was too late. Authorities ruled his death an accidental drowning. The Pirates of the Caribbean franchise features all the hallmarks of high adventure on the seven seas. In the first film, Curse of the Black Pearl, Johnny Depp's Captain Jack Sparrow is sentenced to death by hanging, but he escapes the noose with the assistance of Will Turner's sword, which was flung at the gallows as the platform dropped, allowing Sparrow to balance himself atop the sword until he is finally freed. After renting the film, 12-year-old British boy Scott Buckle was unfortunately inspired to imitate the scene in his home, accidentally hanging himself in the process. During a hearing regarding the circumstances that led to Buckle's passing, psychiatrist John Talbot testified that the scene gave the impression that somebody could escape from such circumstances. He also testified that Buckle's own personal background would have led him to identifying with Captain Jack. Buckle's adoptive parents testified that not only did he act as if he was invincible to harm, he was also prone to imitate things. Sadly, he made the mistake of imitating something that only movie magic could accomplish. Denzel Washington stars in 2004's Man on Fire as former CIA operative John Creasy, who goes on a deadly rampage to recover the abducted 9-year-old girl he had been tasked with protecting. Early in the movie, Creasy is a lost soul, throwing back liquor all day and night, not caring if his unlucky number comes up or not. His relationship with the girl helps bring him out of that darkness.
I pulled the trigger and clicked, nothing.
The twist late in the film is that the very man who hired Creasy to protect his daughter is actually the one responsible, having staged the kidnapping in order to profit from the ransom. According to news reports, in March 2005, 27-year-old Jeremiah Overstreet was watching the film at home in Apopka, Florida, and decided to play Russian roulette. While nobody plays Russian roulette in Man on Fire, Washington's character does attempt to shoot himself, only for the gun to misfire. Overstreet was pronounced dead at the scene by authorities, and the shooting was ruled an accident. The 1993 college football film The Program follows the trial and tribulations of the fictional ESU Timberwolves as they deal with personal issues and setbacks on the way to victory. It sports an impressive cast, including Halle Berry, Omar Epps, and James Caan, but it's unfortunately most remembered for a scene that resulted in real-life tragedy. In the film, quarterback Joe Kane drunkenly declares that he's good under pressure as he lays in the middle of a road, casually reading a magazine while automobiles whiz by at dizzying speeds. His teammates reluctantly join him in a show of unity, bonding through their mix of courage, stupidity, and insanity. The scene ended up being heavily featured in trailers, which led film critic Jack Garner to note, "I dread the day I read about some real high school jocks who've been inspired to duplicate that irresponsible film sequence." Unfortunately, on October 16, 1994, two teenagers did attempt to bring that scene to life. They laid down on a two-lane highway that ran through Polk, Pennsylvania. They were hit by a pickup truck and instantly killed. That same evening, a teenager in Long Island, New York, acting on a dare from friends, attempted the same stunt and met the same tragic results. With authorities and the media publicly noting the connection between the film and the deaths, Touchstone, a Disney subsidiary, issued a statement distancing themselves, stating, "The scene in the program clearly depicts this adolescent action as an irresponsible and dangerous stunt by a troubled and heavily intoxicated individual and in no way advocates or encourages this type of behavior. This is a tragedy, and our sympathies go out to the families of those involved." Disney then quickly moved to have the scene removed from prints of the film. To date, the scene has never been restored, though it has been posted online. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more grunge videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.